back.
Back again.
And snow. You know, we just wrapped up a great, pretty great episode. If we do say ourselves, because we do say ourselves. We're going to replace Howard and Robin here eventually.
Yeah, right.
It could happen. It's America, right? Anything can happen. But we did not mention that over the 2 weeks that we took off, that we lost Tina Turner.
That was a rough one.
Yeah. Yeah. We got Cydni. We got Terrance back with us again.
How you guys doing?
Yeah. So how was that for you? How was that for you, Tina Turner?
For me, I cried because some of my like greatest memories. I know this is kind of crazy, but I had like a little tape player, like Walkman, when I was a kid, and I played her album over, and the What's Love Got to Do with It? That album over and over and over and over again. And then all I could think of is that little Walkman with that tape, because she's the one that got me singing when I was a kid, and just playing over and over again. And I was like, man. And I tried to listen to What's Love Got to Do with It the other day, and I couldn't. I started bawling.
Dude, what a great woman she was.
Yeah.
And her story, you know, been told, you know, we all know it. But how she persevered, you know, and coming up with a voice, and Ike Turner discovered her, and of course we all know how the Ike Turner thing.
And that stuff was horrible. Like, the movie showed like the abuse, but then they were talking about that again when she had passed, and they were talking about when she went, I think, on Oprah and described the abuse. And I was like, oh my God, that's like a broken jaw, all this. I was like, wow. That's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Any thoughts on Tina Turner?
Yeah, definitely queen of rock and roll in my eyes. Like, I can remember seeing like some of her music videos because, you know, I was born in the 80s, so like raised in like the 90s and stuff. And I can remember seeing like some of her music videos, like Private Dancer. And
that's a great song.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love that
like,
one.
What's Love Got to Do with It? I remember like seeing the movie, even though like we were young. Like, my mom would still, like, show us stuff like that, especially when it came to, like, big, like, music. Yeah. People who were, like, really big in music. Like, she would show us those movies no matter, like, how gritty they were and stuff like that.
And I know you're a geeky movie buff like I am.
Yeah.
Her when she was in Beyond Thunderdome, Mad Max.
Yeah.
Just a great woman, you know, and truly an icon. She was the queen of rock and roll.
Yeah,
Truly.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She was simply the best.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, good one.
Yes.
Good one.
But it's true. I mean, it's true.
That ties into the last podcast because, you know, Schitt's Creek and, you know, they did the love song.
When they sung that, I was like, my God, I sing this song all the time too.
All right, so we just found this out that originally we had both of you on because we were going to talk about Juneteenth. And we found out that it's not happening this year.
Mm-hmm. Why?
So what happened?
We just didn't have, like, we just don't have enough donations, and then the place isn't going to be, it was like, how much money was it for that one Beals celebration?
It would have been like $1,600 for the day.
Just to rent it for the day.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's like, I think she said it was, you know, you got to talk to like Chamber of Commerce and stuff like that. So I think it was like $950, and then there was like a $500 deposit, and then you had to pay like $80 for cleanup fee, and then taxes. Like, yeah. So it would have came to like just under like $1,600.
Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't know it was that expensive.
Yeah, that was pretty shocked myself.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, it's just. It is what it is this year, but it'll give us time to reground ourselves.
Right, and so you're going to file for like a nonprofit.
Dion is filing for a nonprofit.
Yeah, she wants to create a nonprofit that just, and it's not going to be just for like Juneteenth or anything like that. It's just going to be for multicultural events. So like, she wants to try to create a space so that like any culture can come and like celebrate like any event that they want to, and then like we'll kind of help them out with that. And but she wants to like spearhead it. So
That's cool.
So
Yeah.
the more we talk about it, like
Yeah.
we'll let you guys know, give you guys details.
That's cool. I'm sorry that we couldn't get funding put together for it this year.
We still gonna celebrate it regardless.
Yeah, you just do your own private thing.
Yeah, probably out of Dion's house.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, nice,
I invite
nice,
people out.
nice. Yeah. So when are you celebrating it this year?
Well, I have to work Monday because my doctor's white, so I'm at Sunday. She didn't
Did
even
you want
know
to do
it
it
was
Sunday or did you do it Saturday? So,
Saturday or Sunday, whatever works for everybody else. But I know that she didn't even know it was a holiday. We didn't block it off. I mentioned it to her. She's like, "Oh, yeah."
And it is a holiday now.
She didn't know.
Yes,
Yeah, she
yes,
didn't
it
know.
is.
She didn't know.
It recently. How long ago did it become
Was it 2
a
years ago?
holiday?
2 years
2
ago.
years ago.
Yeah, I was going to say it had
It's
to have been
recent,
under
yeah.
Biden. There's no
Yeah.
way it would have been under Trump. But
Yeah, she just didn't know. A lot of people don't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So both of you would be well more informed to tell the listening audience, because some people don't know it's a holiday. What is it? What is it significant? What is the date?
Okay, so Juneteenth is, so in 1865, that's when, 1862 is when the Emancipation Proclamation was signed. 1865 is when the slaves in Texas found out about it, that the Emancipation Proclamation had been signed. So it'd be June 18th, 1865 was when they found out. So it was almost 3 years after the Emancipation Proclamation was signed.
Oh, 3 years.
So, and nobody knows what happened to the messenger who was supposed to, either some people think that he just didn't go, some people think that he might have been killed. So like there's like a huge mystery on what happened to the message that was supposed to be.
Elon Musk canceled his Twitter account.
in 1865,
No, just saying.
if I had to guess, I would guess the latter of the two happened to the guy.
Yes,
that,
the
he,
messenger didn't get through.
that he got killed.
Yeah,
That's what
yeah.
I
For
would guess.
for sure.
Yeah.
Because you had to have, it wasn't really mail. right?
Yeah,
You
yeah,
had
it's just
a
like on
messenger.
horseback kind
Yeah,
of.
Yeah, when I went to the National Civil Rights Museum, there was a part where it talked about how some of the people from Canada, there was a white lady that would come down from Canada and she would bring black people back. This was like in the 60s, 70s that she was doing this. She would bring people, and the KKK killed all of them, killed everyone in the car. And
Yeah, so you're talking kind of recent
Yeah.
history.
yeah, it's like, but it's still been going on. I mean, it's not stopping.
Yeah, yeah.
Right, and you weren't here for the first podcast, and we were talking about books being banned, or CRT and all that stuff, like history's not being taught and stuff like that. There's a lot of stuff that we just don't know about, like
You have to go to, like, I had to go to a museum to learn that stuff,
like
to learn a lot of
the
stuff.
whole Black Wall Street. That was something that was never taught in school, and I didn't know
Yeah,
that up
yeah.
till a few years ago.
Yeah,
I had
was
seen a
wild story.
documentary on it, and I called my mom. I was like, Mom, have you ever heard of Black Wall Street? Like, let me tell you what happened.
Yeah, yeah. It's funny because like I have a coworker, and like we were, like while we were at work, we were just talking about like the history of like slavery and stuff. And like he's a white guy, but like he's really interested in it. And he asked, like, we were talking about plantations, and I was telling him, like, did you know that like the most profitable plantations were the breeding ones? So like after we get done talking at work, I guess he went home and researched it himself. He was like, I watched video and documentary on it for like 2 hours at home. And he was like, you were absolutely right. He was like, they had plantations that were just for breeding more slaves, and they were the most profitable of all the plantations.
Well, have you been to the Civil Rights Museum in Memphis?
No, I haven't. I would love to go there.
That makes so much sense. Okay,
Saved money.
when I read so when you walk into the National Civil Rights Museum is located where the Lorraine Motel was. They gutted the entire hotel, but they preserved Martin Luther King Jr.'s room, and the outside looks like the hotel, but the whole inside has been turned into a museum. And the first room you go into is about slavery, and the walls are wallpapered with classified ads. And the classified ads, when you're first in there, are people selling people, and they're describing, they're like, said wench is a A-rate seamstress, telling their, I mean, but they referred to them as that. And then if that's not as sad, when you get to the end of it, where slavery ends, the worst part, all the classified ads turn into, my name is so-and-so, my master's name was whatever, you know, and I am looking for my mother, my brother, my whoever, you know, they were all different stories, and their name is so-and-so. Like, it's terrible. It's terrible. I'm like, that's why I wish everyone would go to that museum. I'm like, everyone needs to go to see, like, then they would know.
Yeah, and then it was, the reason why it was the most profitable is because, as you know, like with the transatlantic slave trade, like there were a lot of deaths and stuff, like when you bring, and it was costing too much money to like bring over, you know, the product, so to speak. So that's why they started making these plantations, because now I can sell you more for cheaper by just like posting ads like you were like you were talking
classified
about.
Ads. Like that, and yeah, it's horrifying enough when you see those and you're like,
it's like human life.
People
like
use those to sell like cars and stuff. I'm like, what were you guys thinking? I'm like, you know,
they're literally selling human life.
Yeah, selling humans. I'm like, okay.
But in the big scheme of things, we're not that far removed from that.
Yeah.
We're talking, what, 160 years? Yeah.
Okay, not much has changed.
And then there were areas, so there's a lot of areas that were like in the South that like people don't know about, where even afterwards, for years afterward, they said that even like into like the 1950s and 60s, there were still some places that had slaves in America.
West Virginia was one of them.
Because they're so remote, like these places were so remote that they were just like people didn't know, like there's no like TV, like radio out there. So like they just kept their people like all the way up until
the owners weren't gonna say, "Oh, you can go
Yeah,
now."
yeah.
They weren't gonna. You think they were gonna do that? No, they were getting free labor.
And then like some of those still like there's still towns that like people can't drive through. Like still some of those like sundowner towns that like people of color can't drive through.
Charleston, West Virginia. I have family out there. My mom told me when I was a baby, which was like kind of early 90s, late 80s, that there were white towns and there were black towns. And white people, if you're in the white group, you're not allowed, like you'll get shunned by the white people if you go into a black town. And black people will disappear if you go into the white town. And it's still like that today. My brother traveled up there and he said it was bizarre.
And I said there's this town in Texas that I always hear about that they tell like truck drivers and stuff to kind of like stay away from, because they're just like, if you break down like in this town, they were just like, they're just like, and if you're of color, they were just like, just pass through, because I guess it's like on the route, like on a truck route. So they're just like, make sure you just pass through, like don't stop.
You know, that's funny on my Facebook memories.
Don't gas up there.
My Facebook memories, like it was yesterday. It came up when I was working for a repair facility, and somebody had broken down, and it was a couple of young college kids, a white kid and a black kid, and we had to order a part to fix it. It wouldn't be ready until the next day, and the type of car it was, you can't work on it when it's hot. If it runs for 10 minutes, it's too hot. You're gonna have to let it cool down for several hours, and it was a 6-hour job. So we said, well, just leave the car here. And he said, okay, well, we have a friend that, lives, say, towards where Kmart is, in that area, not quite up that far. But they said, well, where are we going to go eat? And he goes, well, we can go eat. We'll stay at this hotel and we can walk over here. And I was just like, I don't recommend that in this town. As I said, because they were going to stay, and they said, well, we're going to go crash for a few hours, and then about 9, 10 o'clock, we'll walk over there. And I'm like, no, I don't. After dark, I don't recommend it. And they looked at me like, come on. And I gave the black kid that look, like, you don't know what I'm trying to say to you. You don't. And he looked at my eyes and goes, oh, well, yeah. And I felt like shitty for doing that, for having to say that. But you don't want to be walking around these streets.
I have a bonus daughter that came to town. Her mom's white. She was raised with a white family. She's black, And I told her, even though she grew up here, like, do not walk around at night by yourself. Do not. And she goes, I thought Kingman was better. I was like, it's not. We have more black people here, but it's not better.
No, case in point was there was some people that broke down, and they were just to earn some cash to help fix their car. They were performing out in front of the
and
grocery
they got
store.
attacked by a van full of white men. Yeah, it just makes me ashamed sometimes.
So social media is just so evil anyways, because whenever anything happens around here, just like the comments just come out. And
that's why I'm not on Facebook anymore.
And they say that, like, well, why do you label us as racist? Well,
why do you behave like them?
Look at each and every time that something like this happens, and just look at the comments coming out.
Well, and look, here's one thing that I hate that I've heard come out of the mouths of some white folks. Whenever it's February and it's Black History Month, and they freak out because it's not about them. Mm-hmm. They're like, you know what though? Like, I agree with what Morgan Freeman said, because he said they shouldn't be calling it Black history, they should be calling it American history. And I'm like thinking, do you know why he said that? Because your ancestors were there too. Probably because he wants you to learn about it too. Mm-hmm. God.
Well, and you can't, because if you write a book about it in Florida, the book will be banned.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if you're in Florida, you're screwed.
Yeah, you can't talk about it.
That's why I've heard that a lot of people are fleeing that state.
Yeah,
they're like,
it's becoming North Korea.
Yeah, and then the thing about Florida, that's what pisses me off too. So lately, because of the way that Florida's behaving, the NAACP and I think also the LGBT community also were saying, it's not a good idea for you to go to Florida right now. We're concerned for your safety. And then Ron DeSantis gets pissed off about that. I'm like, then he goes and tries to talk shit about the NAACP. I'm like, aren't you basically getting what do you want then? What is it that you want? If you're making all these rules to, oppress people, then why are you mad if they're saying, okay, we're not going to come there? I don't understand the thought process there.
Isn't he going to run for president?
Yeah, he announced.
On Twitter.
And then it's always funny that they always want to ban like books. It's just like, you're not reading, like, it's obvious by like what you say you're not reading anyways.
Sure.
So it's just like, how are you banning something that you don't even use? Like,
I know there was a good suggestion about that. Somebody said, you know what? They should have to. The parents that want to ban these books, they should have to read the book and write an essay on why the book should be banned.
You know what would be even better? If they want a book banned in a library, say, okay, go look it up in our Dewey Decimal System and tell us what shelf that book is on.
They wouldn't know how to use the Dewey Decimal System. They wouldn't know what the hell the Dewey Decimal System was.
Like, that's what I'm saying. They think CRT is something that they teach in like elementary school. Like, I was just like, there are no theory classes in grade school.
No.
It is taught in law school. Yeah. It's not even taught in all of college. Just law school.
Yeah, so I have my bachelor's of psychology, and never did they bring up CRT.
No, because it wasn't law school.
Yeah, it's not law school. Yeah, we're sending our kindergartners to law school.
That's what somebody should
Well-
say. Is your kid at Harvard? Is your 5-year-old at Harvard? I didn't
Well,
realize
the
that.
best argument to that is if I was on the school board, I'd be like, okay, if you can explain to me what it is, then I will look into it.
They can't.
They can't.
They're ignorant. They can't.
Well, and they're getting a taste of their own medicine, like we mentioned on the previous podcast. In Utah, of all places, one county in Utah, the Bible got banned now in school because of all the talks of incest and murder and everything else that's inappropriate.
So now the book that you want in there is getting banned too, because it's just like, so like when you start doing this type of stuff, like banning, like it just creates a rabbit hole, and it's just like, how far down are you willing to go? Like how much stuff are you willing to lose over this, because it's just going to keep going. Like,
Right.
I mean, and you know, we kind of chuckled
Be
at
careful what you wish for.
we chuckled at the Bible thing, and believe me, we don't support banning any book of any kind.
I think I should read the Bible to learn a lot of the other horrible stories in it too. I mean, there's a lot of
indoctrinated nasty stories, because I took a theology. I have a certificate in biblical theology, and I
want to read it to find out what else is in it, but I would never want it banned. I think you can learn from stuff like that.
Homosexuality is not in the original text. I can tell you that for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
And neither is abortions being wrong. Yeah.
No, because God aborted live babies for sacrifices.
Yeah. Well, and there's the story about how if a woman it's something about like if a woman is caught to be cheating or something and is pregnant, she's supposed to drink an elixir to kill.
It's a bitter water, yeah. That's a
Yeah.
to kill the baby, because
So I'm like, how is that not an abortion?
it is. Yeah. Yeah, it's amazing.
It's crazy.
It's amazing some of the stuff I read about that.
They don't even know what they're talking about. I mean, that's the thing that.
Well, that's because it's that whole effect of that like cult effect where they're all in a group and some pastor tells them this is what it means to be the Bible, and they cherry pick out of different stories. They don't stay in, like when you do an original Bible study, you're supposed to do it book by book by book by book by book, and we're going to go to this book, then New Testament, then Old Testament, just to cherry pick things out to make their point, and they believe it.
They don't even realize that that's wrong, though. The Sermon on the Mount tells you that you're not supposed to be up there preaching.
Yes.
Like, you're supposed to do it in private. They don't even believe their own stuff they claim to believe.
You know the story about the tax collectors Jesus tipped over the tables because they were selling stuff within the church area, right? They were selling stuff to make money for the church and taxing people to make money for the church. Do you know what they do? The churches now? They sell their merchandise to make money for the church, and
they don't have to pay taxes.
They don't have to pay any taxes. And it's bizarre. Like if you really follow your Bible, you wouldn't be doing that stuff.
Did you see the article that Aaron wrote the other day about pride? And then the lady wrote the editorial criticizing Aaron. But I wanted to write a counter editorial towards her because what she admitted was what was said on video at that church about pride, about how they were the enemies and all this other stuff. Now they came out with this innocent, and we went over there. I saw the literature there, and it didn't look bad and stuff like that. And Willow and Gideon brought over cinnamon rolls to them, and they were very accepting. They were very appreciative of it. This is beyond on the previous podcast. Ronnie tells the story better than I am. But the next sermon, and they're appreciative of time, but the next sermon, they talked about how do not eat the tainted fruit of your. I don't think the enemy was the right term that they used.
So basically, they
turned it around.
Turned it around and don't accept anything they bring to you.
Exactly.
But here you have these people who are being more Christ-like than they are by bringing them food and water. Hey, I hope you're doing good. Checking on them. It just so bizarre.
And I know you're a very spiritual person, and go to church.
I don't go to church
You don't go to
anymore.
church, okay.
I don't go to church.
But you believe.
I believe in Jesus. Yeah.
You believe. Okay. But wouldn't you believe that Jesus would be very progressive?
Mm-hmm.
I feel like Jesus would be washing the feet of gay people before he would be doing anything with religious hierarchy. He does not believe in religion. Never in the Bible does it say anything that Jesus actually condemns religion. He condemns it. He's very progressive. He's very like, oh, you're sick, let me heal you. And then they have the whole thing of the 99 go out after the one and leave the 99. They don't do that.
If
in
Jesus
churches.
came back,
He'd be just,
these
he
people would
be-
crucify him again.
Well,
Because they wouldn't be able to accept him.
They wouldn't notice him.
He doesn't look like what they think he looks
No,
like.
and he
first
doesn't
off.
act like how they think he acts like. And that's where that verse comes from, separating the goats from the sheep. You know who the sheep are? They're the gay people, the black people, the people that are all condemned by all these religious people over here are the sheep, and then you've got your goats. That's exactly what it is. It's I know it's a weird analogy, but it's the only way that I could explain. I don't think Jesus would ever.
And like I just feel like he wouldn't deny somebody their happiness.
No.
Like whether he agreed with it or not, like I just have a feeling like he would be like, as long as you're happy, I'm good. Like as long as you're happy, I'm happy for you.
He was friends with like all the people that were considered like less desirable.
Yeah.
You know?
Right. And if God created all of this,
The hookers.
then he created that too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's the argument I have for transgenderism, is that it's been scientifically proven it's a biological thing that happens within the brain. Like they have biological parts, they have male, but their brain functions as if they were female, right?
It's like
That
the
was
wires
created.
are crossed.
That was
Like-
created in the womb. So therefore, if life is created in the womb, that transgender person was created by God in the womb, and is holy, just like a straight person would be.
Well, and every baby that's conceived
is female.
female.
And then some people
chromosome.
turn into.
The chromosome
Like-
split, and then
Yeah.
So how do they not understand that? That maybe some folks shouldn't have crossed over,
Yeah.
you know, and maybe that's what happens.
Yeah,
With
it's a
the
biological genetic factor,
Mhm.
and it happens. It happens, and the fact they go, oh, they're an abomination, they're the devil. No, you're the devil. You are the devil. Literally.
Yeah.
And that's another thing Christians are really bad about, is blaming the devil for all the bad things that happen in the world, or their bad choices.
There's
Free will. There's
Free
free
will,
will.
yeah.
You have the free will to make a crappy choice, or
The
for
thing-
somebody.
I hate about them too. I mean, I shouldn't say that. The thing that annoys me about them too is the way that they attack the Muslim religion and say, Sharia law. I'm like, you guys are doing Christian Sharia law though.
Copy it.
I'm like, you are the fact that you have taken rights away from women. That is exactly when you would complain that women shouldn't have to wear, where only their eyes show. I'm like, you're doing the same thing. You're telling women what to do, and you're trying to make your religion the law of the land. Believe whatever you want, but don't make other people do it.
Yeah, I think there's like a saying where it's like when you hate something so much, like you kind of like become it, like because you
Right.
because you fantasize, like you're just so focused on the thing that you hate that you end up becoming what you supposedly
That you
hate.
fill your time up with it that much, so you start to become that.
And then you try to hold like a moral high ground, like above
Yeah.
that, even though you just became that exact same.
Yeah, the one that we've gone after over the last several weeks is Kid Rock. And
Oh God.
what pissed you off
Don't even get
so
me
bad
started.
about that video that you had that angry reaction where you needed to blow up Bud Light cans? Either you're pandering to certain people because you
I
can't,
think
because
he
you
wanted
can't
to
sell
sell
music
concert
anymore,
tickets, honestly.
Mhm.
or
He's a sellout.
Trying to be relevant again.
or there's something deeply disturbing that you found uncomfortable about watching that video yourself.
So speaking of uncomfortable stuff, there was a girl, I don't know if you guys saw it, but somebody posted about what are they doing for Pride Month, right? And they're like, oh, some people are like really cool, like they already did it, blah, 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 this and that. This girl gets on there and says how disgusting it was because there were men in sexual outfits like women dancing in front of kids and stuff. And she goes on and on and on. And I told her, I was like, why are you sexualizing men in dresses? Like, do you need to look in the mirror? Because if you think that a man in a long dress is sexualizing your child, you might want to check your inner.
I know. I was going to mention that because I was reading that thread.
Yeah.
What about women that wear okay, so what about if they have an aunt that wears sexual clothing and that's around? Then how is that not wrong?
I explained to her.
If they're going off that.
Yeah, well, the funny thing is I explained to her numerous times the drag show was after hours with adults in a separate building, not out in the public. And I said, I kept putting that clergy rule on there. It's like, okay, so if you're worried about our kids, what about this? The Arizona statute thing that we talked about. 4 times. She never addressed it. She only kept talking about the men in dresses and how they...
But
don't go to the park.
They're in dresses. They're not. Their genitals are not out. So what are you talking about?
I was like, then don't go to the park when they're celebrating if you don't want your kids around that. Right. Well, I shouldn't have to move parks. I said, you are notified months ahead of time that this.
And there are plenty of other parks
then to go further, because I was reading that conversation and going back and forth, and I was getting kind of irritated by her, but
I just kept going, same thing.
But she was like, well, there were neighborhood kids there who happened to go play at the playground. Oh, so I think it was, I don't know if it was you that said, oh, so you were there. No, I wouldn't go there.
So you let your kids go there by themselves?
No. So it went to, how do you know there was unsupervised kids there?
Yeah. How do you know there were sexualized men in dresses? That was me. Yeah.
But I would have said, well, then where were their parents? Where were you? If you just let your kid go to the park?
She literally told me that I am not a safe space for children to be around because I let my children around drag queens.
Full of shit. I'm gonna say it.
I'm gonna tell you right now, I trust my children around my gay friends, my transgender friends, and my drag queen friends more than I would trust any preacher around my child. And I'm just gonna say that because
amen.
If something happens to my child, stay around a gay friend, right? You report to the police, it gets taken care of. Now, if you report anything to the police of the church, your child's just screwed. They have to live with that for the rest of their life.
Yeah, I talked about this on the last podcast too, when we were talking to Ronnie, and I'm like, the fact that they sit there and say that the drag queens are going to groom these children by performing in front of them. I'm like, why are these people not at the Catholic Church screaming about the kid? I have never seen any of them there complaining about the kids who we know for a fact. I have never seen any proof that a drag queen has groomed a child. And if you show me proof, then I can say, okay, but there are piles and piles and piles of proof of priests who have had sex with children.
Yeah. So in Arizona, sex crimes, right? They have statistically 0.3% is of the gay population. The rest of it is heterosexual population.
Oh, I can tell you who does it too.
Swear to God. And it's just like.
So I was on grand jury, right? Which takes place for 3 months. Every single case we had about kids being molested by someone was by their own parents.
Yeah.
Their own parents were fucking them.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm not kidding. I was like, that's why I'm like, if I get called for grand jury, I'm going to literally say that I won't use the F word in front of the judge, but I'm like, I don't want to be picked. I can't handle to listen about the stories of the parents who have sex with their own children. Please don't pick me.
And then it's just like to groom, like grooming is something that takes like years to do. So like somebody in drag going and like reading a book to kids
on a Sunday,
like
that's what's going to turn the switch, right?
Like for an hour or two. Like grooming is something that takes like years. So that's what I'm saying. Like you said, like it was mostly the parents that were like molesting children and stuff. Like those are the people who groom kids.
Right.
Like
or
are the ones
priest.
That are right there in their immediate vicinity.
Right,
Like
the priests. because the children are altar boys or girls, you know, they
They-
have
they-
the access.
They see
to
them twice a week at
Yeah.
least. Like, you know, they see them for youth group, and then they see them at church. So like, see them in choir, and
It's crazy. It blows the mind.
I mean, at least you know, I have a family member who's come out, and I do talk to them about, you know, my fear of them in this town and how they be received, and they're like, you know what, at school, there's none of it. Everyone is accepting, which is really good, and it goes to show like it's all coming from a generation that's getting a lot older and stuff like that. So in a few years, we're not gonna. Well, I say that as hopefully like a DeSantis or a Trump doesn't get back in office, because that would change. But for the most part, things are going to change. It is going to progress, and this won't even be a subject. It'll be just accepted. And another family member who I was talking to about the Target thing, and he was just like, well, I don't want it in my face. I don't want to see that display at Target. I'm like,
It never was at Target. It was online.
I was like, when have you been? When have you been to Target?
Mm-hmm.
Oh no, it was displays in Target.
Mhm.
There was one in
Well,
Some of
Boulder.
the
I mean,
stores had it
Walmart
moved
has
to the
one.
back
Does
of the
it?
store.
Well, there was a thing where people were complaining about that. It says that the devil, you know, loves transgender people or whatever. But that was on, or Satanism loves, and it had like the horns and stuff. But that was online. That wasn't. They were like, it's a kid's shirt, and this I said this was not a kid's shirt. This was an online shopping item.
so. But here's the thing. So even if it is closed for kids, like, are we gonna act like the LGBTQ community doesn't have children?
Or
Like,
are Satanists?
yeah, are we gonna act like they don't have
Right.
children
Right.
too? Like,
Yeah, and we made this joke on the last podcast about, you know, young kids. Young kids aren't the ones going in and buying it. So if you don't want that for your kid, don't buy it for your kid.
Yeah.
Kind of simple.
Or don't shop there.
Yeah, and then it's just
don't
like,
go.
and it's just like, if a kid sees a shirt with a rainbow on it, they're just gonna say like, "Hey, I want the shirt with the." They see the rainbow. They don't.
Yeah.
They
They
can't
like
read the
the
message
colors.
on it. Yeah,
Like
like
I
it's.
said, the colors stimulate kids. So yeah, they.
And then they're like mad that like some of the designers and stuff are like
Gay.
gay or transgender like designers and stuff. I was just like, you know, God forbid like anybody makes some money like doing like what they like to do. Like,
That aren't
Well,
rich white girl.
but if you're against that, if you're against the artist selling their art, then you better not be listening to Queen music.
yeah,
You better not be
exactly,
listening to Elton John.
exactly. It's just like it's just like, so what? Like, people can't get endorsement deals and like make money and be in movies and stuff, like, because you don't agree with their lifestyle. Like, we live in America. Like, that's the whole point of like America, is to like get money, like get
We
money.
live in a capitalist
Like, yeah.
society where capitalism, which a lot. I mean, I shouldn't say exactly what their political views are, but the Republicans love the shit out of capitalism. I mean, they don't want any regulations. They want business to be able to do whatever business wants. They're always trying to get rid of regulations. So I don't understand why they don't think, well, yeah, but this is business, and then go with that.
They're caught up on religion and the cult.
Yeah. Well, and the other one, when we got back to the Bud Light, was you see the stupid memes on Facebook, like, well, you want us to not be offended by this, but you were offended by a syrup bottle. Was anybody here offended by?
I was never offended by
Not
it.
at all. Like, I didn't even know they were changing it until like it was about like until it like happened. I was like,
Yeah. I went to go buy it one day, and I was like, "Where did the Aunt Jemima picture go?" I was like, "Huh?"
And here's the thing, too. Yes, there were people who were outraged about it. It was them. They were the ones that were pissed that Aunt
Yeah.
Jemima wasn't going to be on there anymore.
Yeah.
And they didn't know.
They were the ones mad.
They didn't know the full story. Now, there's two parts to the story. There's a little bit of truth to that. The company that's behind Aunt Jemima, okay, didn't think in current times that the whole Aunt Jemima thing, because it does have certain stereotypes, leading back to slavery, let's change the marketing campaign, make it more inclusive to everybody. The second part about it was they were facing a lawsuit, a multi-billion-dollar lawsuit, because they had agreed to pay the family whose likeness is on the bottle royalties that they would pay them.
Okay.
Now they neglected to do that, and they were sued. Okay, that was another reason they changed it to prevent further lawsuits.
That makes sense. But just going off of the rebranding, have these folks, because it's mostly old people that have a problem with this, so this is why I'm saying this. Have you guys been into a Taco Bell in the 80s versus today? Have you noticed how the sign looks a lot different? Businesses change stuff. They rebrand all the time.
Right, like
I don't understand.
Like Coke doesn't have Coke in it anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
And the Coke cans look a lot different than they used to look. You know, they changed the symbols of businesses.
And then it's just like I never went into the store like I'm looking for like the Aunt Jemima like stuff. Like I'll go over there and look and be like, oh, let me try this one today, like, and grab it. Like I'm not even like really like I don't care like what kind it like. If it's Aunt Jemima, that'd be fine. Like if it's great value, that's fine too. Like it's just syrup.
You know,
It's syrup.
I will say though,
I usually get the Vermont syrup.
I'm offended because I was born and raised in Vermont.
Oh, okay.
So
you gotta get the Vermont.
That shit is not syrup.
I know, yeah, it's
real
true.
Vermont pure maple syrup. It's like crack. Okay.
Yeah, it is.
This stuff is a drug, and
It's all the sugar.
and you cannot. The stuff in that bottle wasn't real syrup. I made maple syrup as a kid.
It's like when if you talk to people that are from New York about pizza, they're like, the stuff you guys have is not pizza. Sorry. I mean, it's like, you know.
I'll attest to that because I've had the real New York pizza. And,
so have I.
You know,
and it's good.
You know, you go into those restaurants and you see the pictures on the wall, and I go, Robert De Niro ate here.
It's got to be good.
This has got to be good.
I think Charlie's would do all right in New York.
Yeah.
Have you ever had Charlie's? I'm sure you have.
Yeah.
I think
Charlie's is good pizza.
His pizza would do all right in New York.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah, there is good pizza out here.
And then there's a place, the guy's originally from Buffalo, but his business is in Las Vegas, Naked City Pizza, and that is great pizza.
Oh, yeah.
It's a little bit different, but it's just great pizza.
There's lots of great. I like Chicago pizza and New York pizza. I like both.
I haven't had really good Chicago pizza though.
You didn't have it like you went to Chicago, right?
Yeah, but I stuck to the hot dogs.
Like,
those were so good.
You should have tried the pizza.
Like deep dish is an acquired taste to me. Like you
have to eat it like with a fork and a knife.
It's like a cake almost. Like
pizza. I like both of them, but if I had to pick between the two, I would go with the New York pizza because you can fold it and
they usually buy by the slice.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Juneteenth not happening this year.
Not this year, yeah. I'm sure we'll do it next year, and this gives us time to get the nonprofit going. Dion did talk about getting kids from like probation, that because a lot of the kids are Black or Mexican that are on probation, and having them help with these events as ways to like
community service
and stuff. So they would help us set up the events. They would help us fundraise for the events, and then they would get. They would get information about history and stuff behind, you know what I mean? Like, it's a whole, like,
You know what? That would be a good idea for kids to be able to do that for their community service because there are unfriendly places in town that will not let certain children do community service. Like a certain pet place down across the tracks. I don't want to say their name specifically, but my ex-fiance a long time ago, his daughter got in trouble. And the woman, then I had to call her because she went, the his daughter went there to do the community service. And she's like, well, the lady sent me home. She said I couldn't do it. And I'm like, why not? You need to do this. You know, you got in trouble. I thought she was lying to me at first. So I'm like, give me the phone number. I'm going to call her. She's like, no, she can't do it. She's coming in here with sagging pants looking like a gangster. She's not allowed to do community service here. And I'm like, ma'am, what does it matter what she's wearing? She's cleaning up dog shit. What do you care what she has on? But yeah, I mean, so if there was a way, they don't even want to let the kids do the stuff they have to do.
Mm-hmm.
They have to look a certain way in order for it to happen.
Yeah, that's true.
Did you ever take your daughter to the new Little Mermaid?
We're going, and when we go to Pismo, because my other daughter is with her father, so we didn't want.
Okay.
Well, I want to take all three of them because they're all excited about it. But we're going.
Yeah.
Cool.
I'm probably
Fantastic
It's-
movie.
I'm
and
going.
it's
Oh,
making-
I'm gonna cry.
Fantastic movie.
And you know what you're seeing because you're into this geek stuff. I just saw it this morning. The new Into the Spider-Verse.
So good.
Oh, it's so good.
So good.
She's already seen it. Like, I already saw
Such a
it.
good movie, man. I've been waiting on
I
it.
loved how they tied the movies into the cartoon and even the old 70s cartoon.
Yeah, and then
brought it all together.
And then I like how they just kind of like they left it open for like another one.
Oh,
like,
that
so-
twist at the end.
Yeah.
Woo.
They left it open for even another one.
But I heard The Little Mermaid had the highest box office of the year, like price, how much they sold.
Oh, cool.
I think they're up to. They said it's on pace to do like $1 billion.
Yeah.
I think right now it's at like 180 something million. I think for the weekend.
Shot right up.
Cool.
So it's
Which goes to prove the loudmouths on Facebook really don't matter.
No, well, those are there's a handful. They have fake profiles and they just spam people.
Well, they think that because it didn't. The first weekend it opened, it didn't make as much as it cost to make the movie. So everybody's like, oh, it flopped. I was just like, it's one weekend. Like, give people time to... It's a Disney movie. It's going to
Not
be in the
everybody's
theaters.
going to go in the same weekend.
Disney
to go watch
movies
it.
Disney movies stay in the theater for a long time. So
Yeah.
Yeah, I tell you
Plus
what.
the money they're going to make off of like streaming it too through
Mhm.
Disney, because every time you stream it, so much money goes to the movie.
Yeah, and so I'd gone into Kingman. I wanted to see Across the Spider-Verse with my youngest yesterday, but the line was too long. And Kingman theaters kind of sucks because
Your feet do stick to the floor.
yeah, and you order your food at the same time you get your ticket. It takes forever
takes
to get
forever
a
just to
line.
get out of the line. Yeah.
So then I drove down to Laughlin, and it was just 6 people in the theater, and I just thought that movie was just brilliant.
really good.
Brilliant.
Cool.
All right, so anything else you want to add before we wrap this up this
Yeah, we're
week?
just going to try and get our hands into the community
Yeah.
and teach them, because the kids are what's going to change it.
Yeah, and that's 100% true because little kids, I don't care if it was 50 years ago, 100 years ago, today, little kids, you put a bunch of little kids in a room, they don't care what color you are. They don't care.
Yeah.
You don't care. You don't care if it's a boy wearing a dress or whatever.
My 6-year-old,
They don't care.
Dion, is her best friend. She doesn't care that she's black. That's her best
They don't
friend.
see it. They don't see it.
No, and it's like there's a lot of young kids that had like black dads and white moms that raised them here. So, like, for example, my bonus daughter, her mom's white, her dad's black, wasn't in the picture. She wants to know about black culture. She wants to know about that part of herself. And then that'd be like something like what we're doing is right there for her to learn about that stuff, you know? And we need more of that for these kids. She's 18, she's a kid. She's a kid.
Definitely, because like it's funny because like when you mentioned that about like kids, I remember one time when I took my son with me to go see my parents in California, and I was going to link up with a friend and his son at a park, and we had our kids there, and they're all playing, and like this family came. I want to say they were Sheik. Is that how you say it? Sheik. Like, yeah. But they didn't speak English, and their kids and our kids were just all playing, just all
They
me.
don't care.
and the kids didn't speak any English, but they knew what fun was. They knew what a good time was. So like, me and my friend and the parents, like, we're just kind of looking at each other like, yeah, like that's what we like to see.
Cool.
Like, even though there's a language barrier, like we know that the kids know what's up. Like they just know what having a good time is with each other.
Yeah,
I know.
and I don't, as a parent, I don't understand what part of being a parent where you're the opposite, where you're intolerant of other children.
I
I
like
could
that.
not imagine. I would embrace any child, no matter what they look like.
Like, I think that's kind of like our purpose as adults is to like teach and protect and like kind of guide children, like no matter whose children they are. Like, it's just like our job, like as adults, like is to bring up that next generation.
Yeah.
Like,
And even if you're far right over here, and you know where we are over here, is fundamentally we want the same thing for our kids. You know, we want them to be healthy, healthy, grow up, be successful, and stuff like that. And I don't know how certain people wouldn't want that for any parent or judge or anything. You know, probably a good place to wrap this up. You know, although I need to say, Terrance, you need to do a podcast because you have a fantastic voice listening through these
Right?
headphones.
Yeah, I know.
Maybe that'll be something we get with you.
I've thought about like
that's it.
I've thought about doing something on like the nerdy side. So
Yeah. Come on, this one, dude. We can talk geek culture. And Sarah can tap out. She's
Right? Yeah, you can sit in.
she's going on vacation to Alaska next month, so maybe you can sit in. We'll just talk geek stuff.
Yeah, you guys should.
Definitely.
All right, so on this, we'll wrap this one up. God, we've done like 3 hours already this afternoon.
I know.
So, all right.
It's like work. No, but more fun.
And it's therapy.
Yeah.
And thank you both for coming on. You know, and we both enjoy every time that you're on.
Always a joy.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night.
Bye.